It's Maribel Blue with a new Maribel Blue Unfiltered, the reality TV edition. Here we go again with Chris and Paige and the saga that is Married at First Sight. Just when I thought it couldn't get any more dramatic, after Chris decided he was going to divorce Paige, he's still playing mind games into thinking he can hold on to her with his fan cage of women. Before I get into it, I want to say welcome to anyone who is listening or watching, and thank you for your support. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe and hit that like button if you like this video. And if you're a recurring subscriber, welcome back. Of course, if you are listening to this show on Anchor, you can listen anytime on anchor.fm/Maribel Blue. And you can sign up for a monthly subscriptions. There's 3 options, or you can contribute to my Venmo, whatever makes you happy or not. Of course, I'm going to include all of the links in the description box so that you will not miss out on anything that I've said in the beginning of this episode. And of course, as difficult as it is for me to do video, I wanted to take this opportunity to, of course, show off my serve box little thing over here. Oh no, my light is running out. Time for me. So I have notes because literally I am going to read off of my notes. So I apologize if I am looking down. I really don't want to forget anything that happened on this week's episode of Married at First Sight. I want to be able to touch all of the bases from the meeting that Chris had with his pastoral friends until he had met with Paige and Mercedes, and who knows why that happened. But I'll share my notes with you and tell you why I think Chris really had this meeting with Paige and the baby mama. So let's get started. This past week's episode was quite interesting to say the least. As most of the cast remains married and working on their kinks, Chris is trying to keep his kinky life in order by keeping all of the women he wants by his side and the one he doesn't want, which is Paige. Part of me is confused while the other part is very clear on his mess, being that I had my own experience with a shit show myself. One thing I want to say, in my last show, I posted a flyer up on Twitter and someone had responded saying Paige was not stupid. I'm not sure what she was talking about or what she was reading before anyone decides to clap back on my tweets. Please listen to my show. You will know that I did not call Paige stupid, and nor do I think that she is stupid. As a matter of fact, I think she's a very smart girl, but you know what? Sometimes smart women fall into the trap of a man who is manipulative. And in this case, it just happens to be Chris. If anything, Paige was robbed from this experience. If anyone wants to audition on this show and they are looking for a real life love story and they feel like they can get it through this process of Married at First Sight, well, then more power to them. Unfortunately for Paige, she ended up getting paired up with somebody who I think just wanted to be on reality TV. I don't think Chris had any interest at all in being in any kind of a relationship. And if his family thought that by him getting involved with somebody would change him, well, that's a whole other story. A person who is narcissistic doesn't change as a result of somebody else, regardless of how beautiful they are or how good they are. So, how the producers missed this one, I don't know. They really messed up. That's all I could say. Moving on. So, on this episode, Chris meets with 2 people he holds in high regard, which is some type of pastoral friends of his. And while they thought that they were there to hear Chris talk about that he's probably expecting a honeymoon baby, he actually shared the complete opposite. So he tells them that he plans on getting a divorce from Paige. It's not working out. He has no interest in her. Now, here's the part that's shocking, I guess. Why were they shocked? If they know Chris very well, if he is the type of person that is forward with them, then they truly know what kind of a person Chris is. And if they thought in their mind, oh, well, if he gets married, this is going to change who he is and he's going to get out of this narcissistic behavior, that doesn't happen either. So while he tells them that he is no longer interested in being married to Paige, his excuses is that he wants to be a part of his baby mama's life and the baby. And while they dispute that concept and telling him he can still stay married to Paige while still being proactive in his baby's life, he didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to hear any of it. As a matter of fact, he admitted to them how he was intimate with her that first night, even though he was not attracted to her. And then they backtrack, showing pieces of the wedding and the look on his face. I mean, you could tell on the look on his face that he had zero interest in her. But I don't know, for television's sake, he just decided to go through it. Maybe he thought that he could stay married to her in those 7 weeks and like get as much sex as he can and then leave her. I mean, who knows what's going on through this guy's mind other than what we're seeing played out on TV. State of shock about what he was telling them. It seemed that they were just not buying this whole concept. He had to make it work under any circumstances. And the thing is, like I said before, what when a person has some narcissistic disorder, and I'm not um diagnosing Chris, but you can tell by his behavior and the things that he's doing, it is a narcissistic behavior. He is belittling her at the same time he's telling her, well, if I have more sex with you, I will somehow be attracted to you. But then he goes back and he tells his friends, well, I thought that if I had sex with her, I would be attracted to her. This magic thing will happen. And that didn't happen. It's it's this whole I telling different stories to different people just to keep up the lie. And that's what he's doing. Marriage does not change a narcissistic person. That's not how it works. Then here's the other thing, and this is what I wrote in my notes. Second, to even suggest that he stayed married because of some religious aspect doesn't hold well either. Chris got on the show because he wanted to show his butt on TV. And while this happened, his character is called into question, and I'm not sure what it was he was looking for other than just being on television. At the end of the day, I look at it like this. The conversation that he had with his two friends just showed me that Chris is the expert bullshitter. He he will say things to Paige. He's probably saying things to the baby mama. He's saying things to his family and he's saying things to these men. And I don't understand how nobody sees right through this nonsense. It's like, how could you not see it? How could you think, well, if you stay with her, it's going to change and it's going to get better? Well, you took a religious oath, so you have to stick with it and it's going to get better. It's not going to get better. It doesn't get better with a narcissistic person who only cares about himself and his own needs. Maybe he should just get a sex doll. I mean, they don't talk back, right? And you could do whatever you want with them. I'm just saying. And then here's the other part that I needed to say. And I said this in my last podcast. His dad, when he told his dad that he had sex with Paige and that he also told Paige that he wasn't attracted to her, his dad comes out when they're interviewing his dad. He says, well, I'm really proud of my son that he was honest in telling her how he felt. And I'm happy about that. I mean, it's like, what? Did you really just say that? That's really painful to say. You have sex with somebody and the next day you tell them, I'm really not attracted to you. I thought by having sex with you, things were going to change. That's not even cool. And then here's the best part. When his pastoral friends are telling him that Paige is a diamond and she's beautiful and he needs to stick it out, what's the first thing that Chris does? He lifts up his phone. He starts playing with whatever. You see him scrolling. He is no longer paying attention to the two people that he claims he holds in high regard. I mean, it's pointless. Chris only wants to be heard. He doesn't care about anything else around him. It's all about Chris. It's not about anybody else's feelings. And this is what the true issue is, what's going on here. So when Chris didn't get his way with his two friends and he got up and walked out, what's the first thing he does? He calls Paige and tells her that he wants to have a meeting with her and the baby mama. Like, why are you setting up this meeting? What is the point? Because he didn't get his way with his two friends. So now he has to find another way to justify his ego by setting up this meeting. That was the only reason why he had set this up. His goal was to have Paige sit there and grovel for him. And when the meeting happened, first of all, it was really bizarre. I don't understand, like, Mercedes and that smirk that she had on her face. Then on top of that, when Paige had asked her how far along she was like, "Oh, I think about 7 weeks." I mean, pregnant women, they thrive on the exact number. They will tell you weeks, they will tell you about a sonogram, they will tell you everything. And she just seemed really clueless, with which only question for me, is this woman really pregnant? It's, I don't know, it was just very, very strange. So in this conversation, Mercedes finds out that Paige had her own scare and she thought she was pregnant too. And then when Mercedes asked by who, I'm like, well, who else is it going to be? And then we see the classic I'm busted look on Chris's face, because I'm sure, like I said before, he was not expecting for all of this to come out in this meet and greet that he set up. I really believe that Chris only set up this meeting to throw Mercedes in Paige's face and for Paige to beg for him back. Because again, narcissistic 101. This is all about Chris. This is all about his feelings, what he wants, what's best for him, what's magical for him. The whole thing with I'm getting irritated. I'm gonna read the Bible. I want to eat, all BS. This whole God thing, all BS. He knew exactly how to fill out that personality application, whatever it is that you have to do to go through at Married at First Sight, through the producers or whatever it is. I don't know. But I think there are some people that know how to take these personality tests and they know exactly how to answer it to make themselves look like they are this wonderful person. And he's not. And when he got caught in this conversation, and then Mercedes drops a bomb saying, well, I don't know what Chris told you, but I don't plan on having a relationship with him or working things out with him. Again, it's that look on his face. And that's the reason why he got irritated and was saying all of these things. And then everything was on Paige, because she realized in that moment, if she didn't already, that she had control of her life. She took her control back. And this is one of the things that she had mentioned about taking her power back. My overall thing, just not on just Married at First Sight, but relationships as a whole, is that You should never give your power to anybody else. Relationships should be on equal footing. And if you don't feel that way, if you feel that you are being used in some sort of way, perhaps it's time to take a step back and think about if you want to stay in a relationship like that. I made the choice when I was with Shit Show that I was not going to stay in a relationship where basically somebody was taking advantage of my kindness, of my time, and they didn't want to participate in the relationship at all. And it really comes to a point where you don't want to be bothered anymore. And that's what happened. And I'm glad and I'm grateful. But I will say this in my own personal experience, having that experience in the past, that I will never, ever engage with somebody who doesn't have a vested interest in being in a relationship, not just being with me, but being in a relationship as a whole. Because when somebody is not interested in being in a commitment, it's going to show. And it definitely showed with Chris in the way that you could just see that narcissism coming out. And whatever goals he had for this meeting with Mercedes and with Paige, it didn't work out. And then what did he do? He got up and walked out. The same way he got up and walked out with his friends that he holds in high regard, he did the same thing there because he looks stupid. And he is stupid. I mean, I hate to put it that way, but I want to say this as far as Paige is concerned, and this is what I wrote in my notes. I will say this about Paige. For me, she was too caught up in this is my husband. Because, she said it like a lot. And then following this God guidebook on how she thinks she's supposed to live. I don't know about any guidebook, biblical, biblical. Yes. Okay. I don't know about any guidebook, biblical or not, that says, hey, you're supposed to tolerate somebody else's bullshit, even when they're treating you like shit. I don't know of any book that I read that pertains to any type of self esteem that says you should have your self esteem shot down by staying with this person who's narcissistic. And while the obligation of marriage doesn't come with a die-hard handbook of things you must do in order for your marriage to survive, the one thing I will say, Paige took something too literal and forgot that she is a woman first. And her self esteem is way more important than thinking, well, this is my husband, because that got really tired and old. And on top of that, she just met him. I mean, it's like, yes, like everybody else, they understand that they're in a committed relationship, but they also understand that they're still getting to know these people. And whereas Paige was like, well, this is my husband, I have to make a commitment. You don't even know the guy. He's not taking the time out to get to know you. He's taking the time out to do other things, but that was just his self-fulfilling satisfaction. It wasn't about her. It was about himself. How many times do I have to say that? Also, always wear protection. So what if he was your husband? Put a condom on. I mean, you know him. He doesn't want to put a condom on. And the other thing that I wanted to say, I wanted to read this because I was having a conversation with my friend. And as we were texting, I was telling her this, and I'll read you what I wrote in this text. Chris is all about elevating his self-worth by bringing everyone else down. And his goal was to make Paige look stupid by bringing a prettier girl. But it sounds to me like those two guys knew exactly who Chris is and his behavior. And I guess they felt Paige would change that about him, and it ended up backfiring in anybody's face. Now, I don't know what is in the future for the rest of the cast. I have questioned whether or not even Brianna and Vincent will stay together. Vincent is very high emotions. He just doesn't get when Brianna is being sarcastic or funny. He takes every little thing to heart. And while I get that, yes, some comments or some jokes can be painful or not funny, again, everybody is still in the process of getting to know each other. As far as Chris and Paige is concerned, this should be over. I mean, next week, it seems that there's a coming attraction where he's still calling her, he's still meeting up with her. I think, again, Paige, cut your losses. It's not even worth entertaining this guy. Again, I'm speaking from experience. Don't answer, don't email, don't entertain anything, because once that door opens, you're feeding into his narcissistic behavior. And sometimes it could be dangerous. But I mean, I don't see Chris as a dangerous person. He's just a dummy. I mean, there's no other way to put it. So that's it for now. I'm not going to get into a whole thing, but thank you everybody for watching. I'd love to hear your comments on what you think of the whole situation with Chris and Paige on Married at First Sight, and hopefully again that she would cut her losses and find somebody that's better suited for her. And until then, this is Maribel Blue signing off. Always remember, be good to yourself, be good to each other, and most importantly, take care of you. Bye, everybody.